This is like the first official full Spout podcast. I already messed up the intro.
I love it.
We're nervous. Usually this is preceded by a full interview. But you know, with the success of the Spout podcast, which thank you to everyone hearing and watching this, we decided to kind of turn it up a notch, and we're going to add a little more of a podcasting side of it too. My name is Eric Zachary. I am joined by my good friend and better half when it comes to the Spout hosting, Tamara Dia. Hi, Tamara.
Hi. I don't know about that, but I'll take it.
I appreciate you kind of reflecting that back to me. How was Mexico City? You just got back randomly?
I did.
Very cool.
Yeah, no, it was my first time in Mexico City. I've been all through Mexico. It was my first time kind of going inland. I had an amazing time. I definitely ate my way all through the city. I returned with a bunch of mosquito bites, so that's the only downside of it. But
Downfall.
it was an incredible city. The food, the culture. I need to go back. I feel like I only saw a very small fraction of it. I think a lot of people don't realize that Mexico City is actually the largest city in all of North America. So
wow, actually, I did know that, but I forgot. I'm jealous though, because you were there at the same time the Jonas Brothers were there. Tying this back to music, and you didn't take advantage. Where they, by the way, covered Panic at the Disco's "I Write Sins, Not Tragedies." No big deal.
Wow, like probably your dream 3 minutes that I could have...
Literally, yeah. 3 minutes and 22 seconds, but who's counting? Yeah, it was just kind of a random cover. Like, you know, on my show, on my radio show, we always talk about people covering songs, but rarely is it the Jonas Brothers covering an emo pop punk band. And that's just like, I was like, that was amazing.
Yeah, I know they recently covered Sabrina Carpenter at their show too. So I love when artists like that do big covers. That makes me happy inside.
Yeah, it's cool because it's, you know, showing homage, but you know, everyone at some point got into music because they were a fan of someone else's music. So it's always cool for that muscle to be exercised. A friend of the show, a friend of Spout, Max, he was opening for them too. So that's really, really cool to see. We've both worked with him in past. I know you had him on TRL. When we were hosting over there, he did Lights Down Low, or he might have done Butterflies, one of the two. But yeah, just all these different bands and different people coming together, which is cool. But today, I don't want to call this our political episode because
it's not. It's still a music.
People
episode.
Hear that and they're like, "Uh-oh, what are they gonna say?" But music took a front row seat at the DNC that went down. The Democratic National Convention went down in Chicago, literally 2 miles from where my studio is right now. So it shut down our city.
Yeah, what was it like?
There was a lot of music played during the roll call. Did you get a chance to see this?
Yeah, I mean, I saw parts of it. I was in Mexico, so I was trying to like just tap in when I could. But what was it like on your side, being in Chicago during, you know, such a big epic moment? And you know,
it was wild. This is the third time Chicago's had the DNC convention in the last 50 years and change. And famously, in the 60s, there was a lot of rioting and protesting for the Vietnam War, and they were really worried, considering today's political climate, that was going to happen again, and it didn't. I mean, it was a lot of over preparedness, which I guess is the best way to be, you know, in terms. But like all of us in the city were prepared for like, okay, what if we can't get into certain parts of the city? What if they shut things down? And it's like, honestly, more things were shut down for the random music artists that came through, and you would see the motorcades come by, but it definitely. You know, the city I've never felt safer in, and the streets were empty, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But the music itself at the DNC, they did this roll call, right, where, you know, the guy is on stage and he's asking every state, all the different delegates, you know, how do you vote? And they all commit their votes to Kamala Harris. And there was a DJ on stage, DJ Cassidy, who I was not familiar with prior to this.
He's like a legend. Is
he LA legend?
No, he's like an East Coast legend.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought he was a magician because every time he would say something, he'd be like, we're all here today for the freedom of choice, which, like, I love the words he's saying, but at the same time, he would like step back and wait like it's an illusion. I was like, all right, easy, like Siegfried and Roy. Like, it was very entertaining, but he was his job was to play the different songs for each state that committed you know, their votes towards the presidential nominee of Kamala Harris. Every state trying their best to play music or songs that represented either people from their state or their state specifically. Most notably, you probably saw this, Georgia, when it was a takeover. He crashed the party, but Lil Jon came out and literally sang "Get Low,"
which is amazing.
And yeah, it was that was a moment that there was a lot of side-by-side clips. And again, we're not taking any political sides here, but when you do see the RNC, which happened a couple weeks prior to this, it was very dry, very library aesthetic of committing votes. And then you clip to the DNC and you have Lil Jon literally going, yeah, like committing his votes, singing "Turn Out for What." And they redid it a little bit, get out there and vote. That was crazy. You had all the different states, different songs. I want to run through this list real fast of some of the states that chose their different tracks. Alabama, obviously, "Sweet Home Alabama" by Leonard Skinner. That makes a lot of sense. Yes. Alaska was "Feel It Still," Portugal the Man. Arizona, "Edge of 17," Stevie Nicks. Arkansas, "Don't Stop" by Fleetwood Mac. And then some of them made a little more sense, right? Like California was "California Love," Tupac, and then they switched to Kendrick.
I thought that was awesome. I was like very excited about that.
It was cool for California because traditionally I didn't know this. I'm not the most informed political correspondent. I definitely keep up, but I'm not informed enough to speak on it. I didn't realize that at the national conventions, typically the home states of those running, the VP and the actual presidential candidate, they'd pass. It's just traditional that they do that. So California still had their moment. Minnesota still had their moment, even though they didn't technically commit their votes. And they definitely made the most of it. Delaware played "Higher Love" by Whitney Houston and Kygo. Forgive my ignorance.
I didn't know that they had a track together.
Yeah, but are they from Delaware? I
don't know. Actually, I don't know.
Maybe Kygo?
Oh.
There's some interesting choices. Guam played "Espresso" by Sabrina Carpenter. I think it's safe to say that Sabrina Carpenter's not from Guam, but hell of a party, song of the summer for sure. Hawaii, "24 Karat Magic," Bruno Mars. That's cool. Bruno is from Hawaii. But yeah, man, it was a party. No one picked any duds. There was really no song that was like, okay, you chose the easy out here,
Yeah, and then we can talk about her overall campaign song being "Freedom" by Beyonce.
Right, and more specifically, the idea that everyone was convinced Beyonce was going to show up
and
at
then
DNC.
You saw TMZ had to print a retraction because they had actually published that she was going to show up.
Oh, yeah.
So
I was watching in real time. I live like a mile and a half north from the United Center where it was taking place.
Yeah.
I mean, there was helicopters and everything over, and you don't know, are they there for Beyonce or are they there for the presidential candidates? Because I could see it going either way.
In the United States, it would make sense that they would be here for one of our biggest celebrities, for sure.
Truly. Yeah, no, people will take shots at TMZ. Obviously, it's a gossip column, but, Harvey Levin is a lawyer, and he takes pride in very rarely will they have to print a retraction. Usually, if they're talking about anything, they get the facts right. It's up for debate whether you think it's right that they're talking about it, but they very rarely are wrong, flat out wrong.
TMZ has broken a lot of news over the years, and as you said, on the whole, it is kind of a gossip site, but it is an established news site as well because of the information that they have broke. So it was a shock to me when they had a retraction. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't remember the last time they did this.
Right, which tells me that maybe she was scheduled. Obviously a lot of hiccups can happen. This is probably one of the hardest cities to fly into, private or otherwise, during the TNC. So maybe there was a hiccup. I just don't see TMZ running with it. And the CNN and NBC correspondents, by the way, mentioning, hey, this might happen. We know that these rumors are happening.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're prepared. I really think there might have been a last-minute switch, or maybe she couldn't make it. Because they still highlighted "Freedom," obviously, the song of, like you said, the Kamala's campaign. And also the song subject to a little bit of criticism from the Trump campaign because he tried to use it and they had to make
Beyonce
sure
shut
that
it down.
didn't happen. Yeah, they shut that down real quick. Not only, imagine being one side of the campaign where you're not only told, hey, you are absolutely not allowed to use this, but then your opponent gets to use it for everything.
I know. Well, I mean, obviously that's kind of Beyonce showing where her loyalty is lying in this campaign.
100%.
Yeah.
There were rumors too Taylor was going to show up at one point.
I heard
one
that
I
too.
didn't believe as much.
Yeah.
It was interesting though because I was following Twitter X throughout it. Right, I watched all of Kamala's speech and I thought it was an incredible speech and it had a great amount of gravitas to it. But at any point in my head, my music brain is like, okay, Now's when she brings Beyonce out.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, and it's looking back, it's ridiculous because obviously that would have upstaged the whole point of the evening. But watching Twitter and going, people were like, these tweets were flying in real time. Like, okay, when's she coming? When she's coming? I mean, I'm seeing tweets like, Kamala, you already got my vote. Like, sister, like, come on, bring her out now.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's not a Beyonce concert, but it was interesting. There are different performers throughout the week too. John Legend performed. You had Common performing. Great deal of entertainment for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely entertaining. I think, like you mentioned earlier, kind of a night and day difference from the RNC. So it'll be interesting to see how both campaigns kind of progress, especially with, highlighting music as a through line throughout these campaigns and up until election day. So it's getting, the temperature's turning up for sure.
Literally turning up with Lil Jon.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we are, Kamala's campaign adopted Charlie XCX, Brett Summer, very quickly.
Yeah.
A lot of her campaign signage has that neon green.
Yeah, which is
definitely
smart.
Playing off of the millennials and the Gen Zers and, understanding that, as important and I mean truly important, the policies and politics are here. There's definitely certain ways that you can get more people behind certain messaging, and that's leaning into the TikTok crowd, leaning into what trending sounds are, and not just being the out of touch politician, which has happened on both sides. I'm not picking a side here. Over the last couple of years, just playing, your average "God Bless the USA" by Lee Greenfield, or it's a little more calculated now on what's being utilized and what's not.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with that.
In other news, Chapel Roan posted, she's been bubbling lately. You could kind of visibly feel and see that she's getting a little annoyed and uncomfortable with the amount of attention and fame that she's received. She's been very vocal about the fact that this happened so quickly, and she was even on stage, I think at Lala.
I saw that
before Lollapalooza too, saying, I wasn't prepared for all of this, because she's been a musician for so long. But to have it so quickly now, just go from 0 to literally 100. And I've seen a couple of the charts where it's like her average monthly listeners were in like the low thousands, and I want to say February. And now she's in the millions. But she definitely made a statement and quite literally put on Instagram, I think it was a 4 or 5 page carousel slide. Setting some boundaries. Talk to me about that, Tim.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, neither one of us understand the pressure that comes along with being, one day just kind of putting your work out there, and then the next day, like being a household name and having people in the street running up to you and stopping you constantly. I feel for her in that regard. I know she's also mentioned she's had issues with anxiety as well. So I could see how it would be a pressure that she's not used to. However, with that being said, she is living a dream that I'm sure she's had for many, many years. And these people that are running up to her and wanting to, say something, get a picture, get a, even just like a moment with her, these are her fans. These are the people that are going to hopefully give her a very long career and have her continue to live her dream in the public life. She mentioned for her, it's more of a safety issue. And that is why we see these huge artists with security. So I think, in a sense, like rather than biting the hand that feeds you and kind of attacking the fans that are here to support you, I think it would be a better direction for her to employ some security when she is out in public, because that'll just help with her safety. And they can also filter in people, into her space that she feels comfortable letting in, and create a barrier, this boundary that you had mentioned. It's a tough thing, like you want to feel bad for her, but I don't, it's, I think she's an incredible artist. I'm excited to see how far she can take this, but, there's a reason why someone like Taylor Swift is as big as she is. And that is because she embraces her fans so purely, and she would never do that. She's never done that. She actually had an interview. We're seeing other artists come out with interviews from years ago. Katy Perry had an interview. Taylor Swift had an interview where they were asked about, this big influx of fame that comes along with what they do. And both of them, even in this, and they're bigger than Chapel Roan, even they were saying that I would never, ever push a fan away. My fans are the reason that I am in the position that I am in today. I am grateful, and I am lucky to be able to do what I do. You know, like at the end of the day, I'm not out here curing cancer. I'm getting to do art for my dream. I've dreamed of this since I was a little girl. So it's tough. I'm kind of not excited about the way Chapel's handling this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like what you said, in the way that she's going about it. Look, no one's taking away the very real safety issues that are present when you go out in public and you're that noble of a figure. She, at multiple occasions through this statement, she said, I don't touch me, don't touch me, which means obviously this has happened. In what capacity? There wasn't a whole lot of clarity there. There were a few things, and again, to latch on to what you were saying, it's not that she's asking to set boundaries, it's that she's doing so seemingly without putting the infrastructure in place to also help enforce it, right? I don't know. She might have the bodyguards ready, but she's also kind of made mention of like she just wants to go to the movies with her friends on Saturday. And to some degree, you are exchanging your level of success and fame for that ability, right?
Yes.
I am not making excuses for overzealous fans, for super fans. We've seen them firsthand.
Yeah.
And this happens to both male and female artists. We've all seen the boy band days and whatnot. And Louis Tomlinson has a famous story of a fan who snuck and hid in a trash bin to get into his hotel room. I mean, this is not new behavior, and it's definitely not okay behavior. I just don't love how she's going about addressing it. And to some degree, that's also on her team and those around her that should be going, hey, we can handle this, but let's, if you want to make a statement, absolutely. The one part of her statement that really got me, that I haven't seen a lot of other artists do, at least publicly in the way that she has, is she said, don't call me Kaylee, which is her legal name.
Right.
And I can kind of understand both sides of this, right? Because fans who are real fans of anyone, they want to know as much about that person as publicly available, and sometimes obviously overstepping boundaries there too. But it's clearly a moment and a topic that's causing issue to Chapel Roan, that you're not allowed to call me by my name because you don't know me like that. And while I can understand where she's coming from, and we all know those people, right, especially in our industry, where it's like they'll just use artist real names to make it sound like they know that person.
Right.
I'm not agreeing with that either.
Yeah.
But if I see someone in public and I know what their real name is, and I'm a fan, I can understand. I'm not saying I would do it, but I can understand where artists, fans will go, hey, this is the quickest way to get their attention, probably because they see it as a form of respect rather than screaming Chapel Roan.
Yeah. To your point, like, I feel like she's taking this in the direction that her fans aren't intending it to be. And again, there should be a line in terms of fans, like you mentioned, not being too overzealous. However, it feels, I'm just getting a bad energy from this in terms of like the way she's handling it. And again, she's new in this space, so she's not understanding of it. Maybe she, there was a point where Justin Bieber had to really come out and let people know, like, hey, and draw his line. But he had already been the Biebs for like a decade before he even did this. Like, Chapel Roan is a newer artist. Like, she's within the last year blown up. So for her to I think she needs a little better PR on her side. I think this should have come from her team. And I think if she's genuinely worried about her security, and that is paramount, then she needs to hire, security guards in place rather than lashing out at her fans and being like, well, I want to do this, and this is the way that I want it, and this is the way it should be. Girl, the entertainment business has been around much longer than you have, and this is just the way it works. So either you are down to play the game and be a part of it, and then when you need to shut down, you have a barrier in place, example, security or a team, or just kind of be in your own private space when you need to really internalize whatever it is you're going through. But to lash out at your fans and just, basically be like, this is the way I need it, like, it really left a sour taste in my mouth, and I hope she can kind of adjust her expectations.
Yeah. I am interested to see how the next couple of weeks play out. She's obviously signing up for features at festivals, and as we enter kind of the fall season, personally, I didn't love, she had a appearance on Fallon on the Tonight Show, and she had gum in her mouth. And this is such a small thing. Yeah. But for me as an interviewer, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way, it's just, that there was no less than 5 people, both on Fallon's team and probably her team, that's like, hey, spit the gum out. Like, just, you're going to be on TV.
Someone said it.
And she made a very big statement of, I don't give an F, I want it, which, to each their own. to me, that's just a sign of disrespect. Clearly, you're not a fan of media in the industry, and that's fine. But at some degree, that's also the people that are helping you succeed in your career. So to go after media is one thing, but to double down and go after your fans who are just excited to meet you, I don't know, man. It's a curious path for sure.
Yeah, I mean, well, we're going to see how it's going to play out for her because, you know, she is kind of on this like huge explosion right now, like into outer space in terms of her career. So, but we've seen bigger artists fall. So I hope that she kind of takes into consideration that her fans are the ones that gave her this platform and she gives back to them rather than tries to kind of attack them.
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, it's happening so early in her career that she is at a point where she can course correct by all means.
Yes.
You know, I hope that it's very clear Tamara and I are in no way directing any negativity towards her. We want her to be safe. We want her to have the best career possible. But also we do see both sides of how, you know, what she's saying can be perceived. So just, you know, maybe an extra PR person, or maybe, you know, approve some of those tweets and Instagram carousels before they go out. Yeah,
she's clearly new in this space, you know, but it's been exciting to watch her, like, you know, go up so quickly. She's so talented. And I do root for her. I hope that she has a good team in place that can kind of help her move forward in a easier manner.
There you go. Yeah. Speaking of moving forward and excitement, a lot of albums are out on the way. Most recently, of course, Post Malone. You and I kind of touched on this last week. F1 Trillion debuting at #1, not only in the country charts, but also on pop, which is insane.
What a juggernaut, man. Post Malone. Oof.
Truly. And he's receiving not only support from his fans, but from those in the industry as well. I mean, Taylor tweeted out his album or put it on her Instagram story.
Yeah.
I saw an article that was really interesting, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. It says he almost made his album too big to fail. It can't because of the people attached to it.
Right. I mean, he does have some huge names on his album. So, but regardless of the names on the album, Post Malone himself is a big name. So he has his own dedicated fan base. So it would have done well regardless, but I think he did add that extra little bit of spice on top with the features that definitely helped perhaps it chart #1 on both charts.
Exactly. Sabrina Carpenter put out Short and Sweet, her 6th studio album, which is crazy to think, you know, that she's still relatively young in this business. But she's also been doing it for so long. And this is arguably probably her most successful, if not the most successful project she's ever put out, because she's tried so many different approaches. But, you know, Short and Sweet, have you gotten a chance to skim it? I knew you were international, so I don't know where you are with it.
I have not gone through it all the way yet. You know, obviously there's like the bangers that she put out. I loved the music video that for Taste that she had with Jenna Ortega. I thought that was so I grew up watching the movie Death Becomes Her. So the fact that she used that as her inspiration for it, I was like, going crazy. And I'm a Sabrina fan. I'm excited for her to kind of see her star rise. And just on the other side of it, you know, Sabrina is very good about giving back to her fans. I saw a random video in New York City where someone who didn't know who she was on TikTok and was like, "Who are you?" And Sabrina was just very funny and sweet and warm about it, which I thought was really cute and made her seem very down to earth, which she is. So I'm excited for Sabrina. I think she's doing huge things. Like you mentioned, Espresso, hands down, the song of the summer. You know, she's only going to go up from here.
Yeah, I agree. I saw the video you're referring to.
Yeah.
I'm still, I don't know, the realist in me is like, is it staged? Because it's a TikToker that's randomly stopping someone on a street.
Well,
I don't know.
It did not seem staged. Like the TikToker, just by her voice, sounded like she was older. So she was likely in a much different demographic, and there was other people around her. So I think, you know, New York City, like you've been there when you see a celebrity and there's people around them, you just kind of like look over. For us, it's our industry. So it's not something that we would run over and be like, oh my God. But for someone who's not used to that, she ran over and it was an older woman and she was just kind of like asking people like, who is this? Who is this? She didn't know. But it was a very cute, surreal moment, I'm sure. And it just showed that Sabrina is very down to earth and funny and took it very much in stride, which was great to see, you know, when someone is getting that much success so quickly and is able to kind of take it in in a very respectful manner.
Totally. What projects on the way are you excited about?
Oh gosh.
Putting you on the spot here.
You're totally putting me on the spot. My brain goes blank when you do those things to me. What are you excited about?
Oh, don't flip it on me.
I am excited to go through Sabrina's album. I haven't gone through it in my entirety because I have been traveling. And that's been a project that I've been excited about coming up. One of these days, hopefully R9. Like, come on, Rihanna. She keeps teasing us that we're going to have this album.
Do you think it comes out this year?
No. I
You're
hope.
so afraid to put that on the record.
Well, no, I don't think it's going to come out this year. I think if we get it, it's going to be like a surprise New Year's Eve drop. But I don't. It doesn't seem like we are. Why do you think we're going to get something special?
I don't know. I'm not the Rihanna fan that you are, but I don't think we would hear these many breadcrumbs leading up to in the last 24 months that we have without something. I don't know if it's going to be an album. I think there's going to be a song. Right. I think she's definitely queuing herself up for that next stage. Whether she fully commits her career back to music, I don't think that's the case. But I do think that she's referenced it cheekily, but now it's so overtly so many times recently. She's doing press. She's out and about. It's not like she's in hiding by any means. Yeah. There's part of me that thinks that she's already recorded it and then she didn't like it because it's been so long and now she's re-recording it.
Well, I think she had it recorded like as of 2 years ago. There was an album that was supposed to drop, and I agree with you. I think she wasn't entirely happy with it. So I think that it got tossed and this is all new stuff coming in. I think
do you have a concern with someone like her with the legacy that she has when the album is this long awaited that regardless of what she puts out, it won't live up to what people are hoping it can be?
I mean, that's a fear, obviously, because now there's just so much pressure on it because it has been so long. But she literally has the best of the best on her team, producers, writers, like the musicians. It's all of the A+ list of these categories, radio engineers that could make the best album possible. So I think if anyone has a position to make an excellent album, it would be Rihanna. So we'll see. I mean, she dropped that one song, was it like a year and a half ago now, or a year ago, that I did not like. I was like, oh gosh, I hope. And that's when I think she scrapped her album. So we'll see. We'll see. I am excited. I know Lady Gaga is coming out with something soon. I'm excited for that. I'm a Gaga fan. What about you? What are you excited about?
Yeah, I mean, Katy has her album coming out, which will be interesting when we hear it.
Are you excited for it?
Because Katy Perry also has access to the best writers and engineers and whatnot.
It's also about who you choose. So her choice, may have not have been the right choice.
Exactly. Working with Dr. Luke, who has a, we'll call it rocky past at best.
Yes.
That's a choice that I think a lot of fans weren't thrilled with. What is it? 143, 134, something like that.
143.
Stands for, yeah. And, I think we're really going to see her at her best, hopefully, being optimistic here, with the VMA, concert that she's going to be putting on as part of the Vanguard Award. It's a chance for, I can't think of another 10 to 15 minute performance on national TV other than the Super Bowl where an artist really gets a chance to show off the greatest hits and really bring everything that they have. Obviously the viewership from the VMAs is much smaller than the Super Bowl, but it's similar in the sense where, you have your 10 to 15 minutes to really go, this is why I'm famous. This is why I'm getting a legacy award. And I really hope she leans into the older stuff.
I do too. I think she will. And then just sidebar, she looks incredible. Like all of the promo that's coming out, I'm like, Katy Perry.
The visuals are great.
She looks incredible. Yeah. So let's hope the music matches.
The song choices that are interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think it's tough, like she's kind of grown within this industry, so I guess we're just hoping that her music kind of grows too.
Completely.
Yeah.
Well, I think that covers music for the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So far.
Final thoughts, Tamara?
So far. I think, we're an exciting time in music. So exciting year in general. There's just a lot going on in the sphere of pop culture. So definitely going to be a lot more for us to chat about.
Be on the lookout. Spout Podcast every single week, whether we're talking to artists or each other or just our constant hopes that R9 is on the way. You never know what you're going to hear. Tamara Dia and myself, Eric Zachary, appreciate you watching, listening, and rocking with us on Spout. We'll see you next week.
See ya.